Alright, we are now ready to get started on creating the top geometry for our first exercise. So let's go ahead and open up our first exercise again. What I would really recommend is you print this out and have it in front of you as you create the model, as you create everything. I'm going to be going back and forth just to show some things here and there, but most of this stuff I'm just going to be saying it out loud as I'm making it. So please go ahead and print this out and follow along as I'm doing this so you get some practice with it as well. Okay, so I'm going to be creating this entire top geometry minus the features that are on the side. So these little chamfers that are over here and a chamfer that's on the outside, I'm going to be making those after I create the model. I'm going to show you how to do this after the model creation, but just the geometry on top. So I'm going to make this entire outer geometry, the circle, the 3 circles in the center, as well as my block with the radius on each corner. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started by drawing. First, I'm going to be drawing this little block right here. So a way that I like to do this is kind of think of how I would do this the easiest way possible. If I just create a block from 0, 0 and make it 8 inches by 4 inches, then I would still have to draw a circle in the middle over here and make it bigger, and then cut one side of it and then cut corners over here basically just to make this entire shape. Or what I can do is make a square or a rectangle that is 6 inches, which is over here, by 4 inches, and then just create an arc that is 4 inches in diameter, just like we have in our drawing. So I'm going to do basically what is easiest for me, and then I'll do the rest later. So I'll teach you how to do that right now. I'm going to minimize this and get started on my drawing. So I'm going to come over here under rectangle and click on the rectangle, create rectangle. And you're going to see everything over here turn yellow. That means it's activated and it's ready for me to use. Now make sure you don't have anchor to center. Okay, if you have anchor to center, I'll show you what happens. If you click on the origin and start increasing your rectangle, you're going to see your rectangle increase from both the negative and positives of X and Y. So it stays in the center of the origin. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to press escape, go back to my rectangle, and then uncheck the anchor to center. I want it to start from this origin, but to be on the outside. Now remember, this is going to be 6 in the X axis and 4 in the Y axis. Now remember, this is the X axis, so left and right is X, top and bottom is Y, and the depth is going to be in one direction. It's going to be basically towards me and away from me. Okay? Now, I'm going to press escape real quick. Before I even get started, I'm just going to come over here and show you a few things. First, we want to make sure that we can select our color. So those are a few new things in Solids and in MASTERCAM X8 altogether. So one thing is that you can actually choose the wireframe color. So if I click on this, you're going to have the dialog box appear with all kinds of colors. Now the default one is blue, so I'll keep it as blue. Blue is this color right here. You'll see it kind of pop out if you click a certain color. So I'm going to keep that the same. Okay. Now those two features are for the surface, and this is for the surface color as well. Okay, so this is for solids color, I'm sorry, and this is for the surface. So this is if I'm just choosing one surface to color, and this one is just for the solids color. If you actually just move your mouse over it, it will tell you right underneath it. But in this case, it's going to be right below my recording screen, so you won't see it. So just make sure your wireframe is colored as we are doing right now. And also make sure you are on level 1. We're going to learn about levels, creating levels in a little bit as well. But make sure you're on the first level. And I'll show you later how to create a level 2 and go from there. Okay, so you make sure you're on that. And then also make sure you're on the top view. Another way to make sure you're on the top view is that it will actually show you right here that you are on the top view. So if this is on the top view, if you want to switch views, you can actually click on the front view and you can see this switch X and Z, and then you can also switch to the right side view, and then this will switch to Y and Z. So be careful what it says over here. We want it to say X and Y, so that will be our top view. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Click on the rectangle, click on the origin, and then you can do one of two things. You can either right now enter your values over here, which is 6 by 4, or you can just left click anywhere on the screen, then come back over here and type in 6 and then 4. You can click tab to go between one to the other, and then the blue button is going to be your apply. So that's what's going to actually apply it to the screen. If you go over here to this button right here, it's called the fit button, and that's going to allow it to fit the screen. So it takes the entire rectangle, fits it to screen. Now I always like it a little bit further away, so with the mouse middle button of your mouse, it's a scroll button. Okay, make sure you use a mouse that have a scroll button. Most mouses now have it, but just make sure you do. It's really nice. You can go back and forth, zooming in and out of your drawing. Okay, so we created a 6x4. Now I want to create that 4-inch radius arc. Now, one way of doing this is first, before you're done, if you're done drawing rectangles, that's what that check mark is in. Usually you click apply whenever you're still drawing rectangles. If you're still if you're done drawing rectangles, you just go straight to the check mark, which says, okay, I'm done, I need to use something else. And now you're ready to use something else. Okay, so now we're going to go to the arc. So I'm going to click on the down arrow and then click on create arc. Creating the arc has many ways to do so as well. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to this corner. I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to increase my circle. Now, if you start on the top right corner and start to increase it, you're going to see that your circle will start increasing as well, getting bigger, but it's waiting for a second pose. So if I click anywhere, basically, now you can start drawing your arc. But obviously, we want that center piece of the arc to be in the middle over here. So to exit out of this, so if you make a mistake like this and you want to exit, just press the escape button, and now it resets itself. So now what you want to do is come back over here, and you're going to see a little square right in the middle of the line. So if you just left click on that square, now you start drawing your circle. Now the dashed just means it's like a little preview of what you're about to do. Okay, so it's just saying, okay, that circle is getting bigger and bigger as I move my mouse away, and you want it to snap on one of the corners, either the top one or the bottom one. Okay, so now you're able to actually draw your, I like to always usually like to follow it, but you can just move your mouse up and it will draw your arc and you will snap it on top. Now if you go this way, it can actually draw it this way, and you can actually keep going and make it any size arc you want. But I want it to be this size, and I'm going to want it to snap on top over here. So after you have that done, click on OK, and there's your arc. Now obviously we do not want this line right here, so just click on it and then click on delete, and it will take care of that. So there you go. If I go back to my drawing right now, you're going to see that I drew basically this outer boundary minus the chamfers. So let's go ahead and do the chamfers. So those are 0.75 by 0.75. So the 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch chamfers. They're big chamfers, and there's 2 of them, so they're on both corners. I'm going to minimize my drawing, and I'm going to come over here, and there's a fillet entities option. Now I don't want to do the fillet, I want to do the chamfer. So click on that bottom arrow and then click on chamfer entities. Okay, now it's already right now set up for me as 0.75. You're going to see a distance number 1 and a distance number 2 button that is not highlighted. And the reason for that is because you can actually choose what kind of chamfer you want. And if you come over here and just click on the arrow and click on 2 distances, you're going to see that now you can choose 2 different distances, or you can also keep them the same if you like. You can also choose a distance and angle. So you can choose a distance as well as an angle. And then you can also choose a width as well, which is kind of the same thing as a distance. Okay? So what I'm going to do, but the width basically is from here to here. It's not just from here to here. The width is from one corner to the next, not including the X and Y. It's going to be the diagonal distance. That's the difference between the width and the distance over here. So keep it at distance number 1, keep it at 0.75, and just click on 1, and then click on the other corner, and it will get created. And another way of doing it is just move your mouse close to the corner. Okay, you're gonna see it right there, and click, and it will happen. If you just click once, you just want to move it close enough to where the preview of the line appears, and then you left click and it will appear. So after you're done, click on OK to accept that, and I'm gonna click on fit the screen, zoom out a little bit so you can see a little bit better, and there you go. We've just created the chamfers. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and create our rectangle. Now, one important thing to do to remember when you're drawing that rectangle is where it starts and where it ends. Now, one thing I would want to remember in the rectangle is the width and the length of it. So the length is going to be 2.5 inches. Let's go ahead and check that real quick. So from 0.75 all the way up to 3.25. So that would be 2.5 inches. And the width is going to be from 1 inch all the way to 2.5, so 1.5. So it's a 1.5 by 2.5. So that's one thing to remember. The other thing to remember is where it starts. Well, it starts at X being 1 inch and Y being 3/4 of an inch or 0.75 inches. So I need to remember a starting point and then just the width and length of it. So the starting point is 1 by 0.75 and it's 1.5 by 2.5. Okay, let's minimize this and go ahead and get started. So click on rectangle. Now the X, Y, and Z state a beginning point. So the beginning of it. So let's go ahead and type that in. 1 by 0.75. Z is going to remain 0. We're not drawing on any different layers. It's going to stay everything's going to always remain at 0, just like it is down here. After you have that done, hit enter. And you're going to see a preview appear of the point getting started over here. And now you can snap it anywhere. So again, one more thing you can do is basically left click anywhere over here and then change them. Or you can change them right now. So I'm going to change them to 1.5 by 2.5 and hit enter. And it's going to show the entire thing over here. Now if I like that, all I have to do is click on OK. And I'm done drawing my rectangle. Now the next thing I want to do is the radiuses. Now I have it over here stated that there's 4 radiuses of 0.25. Let's go ahead and click on the fillet. Now remember before we used the chamfer, now I'm going to use the fillet entities. And I want to make sure that the radius is selected 0.25. I do not want to use anything but radius. Okay, so it's a 0.25 radius, and all I have to do is move, click on one, click on the other. There you go. Click on one, click on the other, and do this for all 4 corners. And then click on OK when you're done. And there you go. We've just created a 0.25 radius, all corners of the rectangle. Next up, let's do the circle in the right here towards the right side. Now this is a 3-inch diameter circle, also at the center over here of this bigger circle right here. So that makes it easy for us to snap onto. Go ahead and go to create circle, but this time the last feature we used was create arc polar. So you want to click over here and then click on create circle center point. And then come over here and make sure it snaps right over here. One thing that's really nice about MasterCam is that it also now allows you to snap onto little areas that already have circles or different things created. Now I can also snap onto this radius if I want to as well. So this is already created and I can snap onto this. So I can left click on here to begin my circle. And I can either state a radius or a diameter. So make sure, remember to put 3 as a diameter. So type in 3 and hit enter. And it will show right here. Now that looks good. I'm going to click OK. Always double check it and make sure that it's done right before you click on the OK and exit. Obviously, you can always select it and delete it or undo it by clicking on edit and undo if you don't like it. So the last thing I want to do is create these 3 circles. Now, one thing to remember is the location of these circles is going to be in x-axis 3.5, and in y-axis it's actually going to be in 3 different locations. So the first one's going to be 1 inch, second one's going to be 2 inches, and the third is going to be 3 inches. Okay, so remember that. Now also the diameter of these circles is going to be 1/2 inch. So that's one thing to remember while making all of these circles. So again, I'm going to minimize this and go ahead and click on create circle. And the beginning, just like I said, it's going to be 3.5 by 1 by 0. And I'm going to hit enter. And if I actually just move my mouse towards the drawing, it's going to show you that it snapped onto the point that I told it to start at. And now I'm just going to click the diameter, which is going to be 0.5. Okay, and there you see my first point. I like this. I'm going to press on apply, which keeps me in circle creation, but it does not exit me out. So now I can go back and do another one. 3.5, the second circle is 2.0. Okay, make sure you press tab to get the Z, but then after that hit enter. And it will also create it right where we want it. And then again, make sure you type in 0.5. Okay, there's our second one. Click on apply to apply it and start a new one, which is the last circle. It's going to be 3.5 by 3.0. Hit enter. And just like you can use a diameter if you learn how to convert from a diameter to a radius, which is a radius would be half of it, 0.25, hit enter. You're going to see that it creates the same size circle, and also you can see it over here as 0.5 as well. Hit apply and hit OK. And then I'm going to fit the screen over here so I can see the whole model. Now I'm going to go back to my drawing and make sure that everything I've made over here looks exactly the same and there's not much difference. If I notice anything different, obviously this is where I want to go back and correct it. Everything looks good, and this concludes this session and the creation of our geometry in the top view.